I cannot imagine not going, going to school one day and seeing somebody and then going to school the next day and not seeing them.
I see my community hurting. That's a state that I see us in right now.
My child, her name was Inaya Michelle Hollins. At 24 years of age, her life was taken from gun violence here in Battle Creek.
Well, from what I've seen is personally and professionally, I feel like that right now the city of Battle Creek is in like a traumatic state. I feel like that we are been through so much trauma and there hasn't been any healing yet. I see my community hurting. That's a state that I see us in right now. And, as the saying goes, hurt people, heal people. So I continuously see us hurting each other based on what we already have experienced. And it's really transferring to our kids.
Back in 1991, I had a brother that was murdered from gun violence. He was shot once in his chest. His name is Randy Johnson. So that was my first interaction with gun violence, like close to home. And then my child, her name was Inaya Michelle Hollins. At 24 years of age, her life was taken from gun violence here in Battle Creek. She was born on my birthday. A lot of people don't know. Yeah, so in a sense, we grew up together. I had her on my 17th birthday. Um, she was a good kid, graduate of Battle Creek Central. She didn't have any children. She was working, just, things of a normal 24-year-old would do at this age. She was real bubbly, had a good attitude about herself, real close with her two sisters that are left behind, and just real family oriented. She liked to be with her family, like always smiling. She would always tell me because I would always tell her that she stole my birthday because I'm the baby girl of my family. But after her, it was like, oh no, So she would always say, we are the same, And I'm like, no, little girl, you took my day, But she would always tell me that, and we would always spend our birthdays together. And now that she's not here, I'm like, we are the same. That connects with me on our birthday. So, and it gives me good memories of her.
Gun violence has affected my family and I in many of different ways, from young ages to still to this day. Taken a few people away from us, left us with holes in our hearts, and there's some things that can't be undone. The first was Joe, which was kind of the unexpected, that it can be anyone. Then Wendell was next, and I was closer to Wendell myself. We shared a very strong relationship, and we never got to do a lot of things that we talked about, and I try to still fulfill those to this day and live for them, through them. Both of them were very stand-up guys. Joe was going to graduate from college and go on and do great things. He already did a lot of great things in his life. Wendell as well, he was a father, a great father. He stepped up to the plate when others didn't, did anything that he needed to do, adjusted his lifestyle, his job, along the lines of to take care of his daughter by any means. So people think that retaliation or because this happened, this has to happen, and it really has to stop somewhere. And I think it stops with us if everyone would just listen to that it shouldn't be a trickling effect. It shouldn't be this happened, so now this has to happen. It has to stop somewhere, no matter how bad it hurts.
Not only are we so small as a community, but we're also small worldwide, really. And so there's nothing that can go on here in Battle Creek that does not almost directly affect someone within, right, directly related to me, or someone within a couple people that's directed. So, and I'm noticing that, and even in the congregation and in the community, that every time violence happens, I'm a telephone call away or a text away from knowing somebody directly that it affected personally.
In my opinion, I think that gun violence is recurring because of lack of knowledge, education, lack of guidance, and too much access to violent activities. It's starting with video games. Then it's trailing on to schools, but this is what these kids are learning to react. Like if any bad action happens to you, whether somebody says the wrong thing to you or hit you, then the first thing is to shoot. And that should not be. So I think it starts within our homes. We have to build better foundations for our children, so they can succeed in school and learn different things when it comes to guns, as far as the gun safety and, different things along that nature.
Some of the root causes of gun violence in this community, in my opinion, are the fact that we have become hands off as a community. I often hear people say things like the children these days or the kids these days. And I think we say that without really understanding that our kids are a direct result of the adult attention that they did or did not get. They learned it from somewhere or from somebody. And so I think, in my humble opinion, one of the biggest causes that adults do not interact with our kids anymore.
We had an incident today at school at Northwestern to one of the kids threatened to shoot 4 different people. Police had to be called. And he was taken out of the school. The root causes, I think we see them, daily. Poverty. I think that's one of the main things. It's almost like a self-preservation thing. If a person is not eating, you're going to feed yourself. And sometimes people don't have the skills or means to feed themselves in a legit way, if you will. And they choose other means, whether that is, through, again, whatever illegal activity, stealing. We just talked about earlier, how when I was a kid, my mom not being there because of her addiction, and me and my little brother happened to go and steal food to be able to eat. In our mind, that wasn't a crime. It was survival. In someone else's eyes, these 2 little black kids coming in the store stealing. So it's 2 different worlds.
The efforts that are being made as we speak we're trying to get more involved in our community, in our kids, get engaged. There's so many community events are going on at the Kellogg Arena and other spaces to where adults are coming into the space where our kids are at, showing them that we actually care about them. And there's like an old saying that says, if in a kid's mind, if you can't play with me, you can't discipline me. And so since we're hands off in both cases, now they don't know where to go or how to handle themselves in certain situations. So getting back into the community, making sure that we're interacting with them, making sure they're involved in what we're doing and we're involved in what they're doing, I think is one of the biggest efforts that's going to help take us a long way.
Gun violence has really broken our communities as far as safety. People are scared to go outdoors, scared to send their children to certain areas. And, it just seems like nowhere is safe, whether you're in school, whether you're in church. I mean, it can just hit you anywhere. Clearly, my child was just standing innocently outside in a gathering, when her incident happened. So it is scary just, stepping outside your home. It's a scary thought.
I think this is one of the greatest things right here. Just having conversations. We can support each other by sitting down. And my grandfather told me, son, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should be listening twice as much as you talk. That's not going to be the case today because I love talking. However, when we can sit down and actually listen to each other and find out what's really another person, what they're experiencing, how it's landing for them. And now when we come together, we together can do more than we can separately with our own ideas. But when we share those ideas and those efforts, now we can come together to see how we can help our community.
For the RISE organization, we take this mission personal because it is personal to us. For one, this is our community. Everybody in RISE was born and raised here in the community, and everybody have also experienced some type of gun violence, or traumatic experience through violence in their life. 3 of our staff members, all Black men, have lost their fathers to gun violence. that work with Rise. I intentionally work with people and hire people that has had these type of experiences, you know what I mean? Because to me, we have to save ourselves. Nobody can relate to a kid that has been abused, neglected, and going through these things like someone that has been through it as a kid. And so if we are to be able to train ourselves from a clinical standpoint to be able to start addressing these issues, I think that we'd be better off. And so, I think we need more people like ourselves that has been through these things to be able to start working with kids and working with families that's been through these gun violence.
There are been efforts made, that some that I know about, I'm sure some that I don't know about. However, up until now, there has not been really good support for families that have suffered gun violence. That because I think that quite often, because we don't know and because we've been hands off, we just assume that if gun violence happened in your family, you probably had something to do with it, or you could have stopped it. And so we kind of just, again, even more hands off. And that's not a good thing, because quite often we don't know how it happened or what happened, or that our family member was involved. And if we did, we may have would have done something different about it. And so that assumption really gets us in trouble, as opposed to having one-on-one and having some conversations and coming together.
Our organization is called HEARTS. It stands for Hands Extended Amongst Randomly Taken Souls. And we just provide different services for people in our community who have been impacted by gun violence. We try to initiate different things for our community. We do like monthly fundraisers, and we do gun violence awareness walks, which are held every fourth Sunday of the month down at the park directly across from Cool Family Center. And we just did have our first kickoff for our first walk, and it went very well. Those are a couple things that we do. But for people that have been directly impacted by gun violence, we do try and provide different services for them. First and foremost, the hospitality basket. There really are no words for parents during these times. We also are doing trauma yoga for people of all age ranges, for all sorts of trauma, adulthood and childhood. That's starting June 1st, and we do have a certified trauma yoga specialist that will be hosting those trauma sessions.
Been pastoring 8 years now, and we've had some trainings and we've had some things, but it was more hands-on, what to look for, things of that nature. Now it's grown to a height that we got to be more than just looking around. We have to be prepared. Mm-hmm. Just heard a statistic. I was on a call Thursday of this last week and heard a statistic that a lot of individuals target churches because they know they're helpless. Mm-hmm. There's nobody there with anything to deter them. And so we're changing that here at Love in Action, making sure we don't want to, but then I'm not going to be naive either. And so that's how it has impacted us. We've actually had to send individuals to get the training, to get the ammunition, to get what we need, so that we'll be prepared to stop a threat should it ever come through the door. Now, our prayers that it'll never happen. However, we know that we live in a real world, that things happen on a regular basis, and we are not immune to that. So we're making sure. And also, we actually, it's helping us with our congregation. What's happening in our world is helping us even be more real. And what I mean by that is, we try to be relevant with the gospel, but we also want to be real to everyday stuff. And this is everyday stuff that's happening. So I have to make sure I put the congregation in a position to be educated on what's going on and how to be prepared for it so that it doesn't affect you negatively.
So one thing that we have done is we've started a ring program. The reason for us starting that ring program was behind an act of gun violence. There's a young lady that was killed a couple years back. How they ended up making an arrest in the case was that one of the ring cameras had picked the car up, what the car looked like. With this young lady being killed, it hit very, very close to home, because it was my oldest daughter's best friend that was killed. And also me and her mom have a close relationship. And so, I actually went to the hospital that night that it happened, and I'm actually went in the back with her mom and identified her. You know, it was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever done in my life, is to have to be with a mom to identify her child that had been killed. And just to hear the screams from her mom, man, was heart wrenching. And so my thing was like, we always marching and doing these different things, and we go right back to the same thing. Like nothing's ever actually done about anything. So I was like, man, what can we do? That's when I thought about how that arrest was made in the case. I thought about like, damn, like it'd be dope if we had these throughout the community. Like if nothing else, it would stop. I know it would stop me from coming to the community doing anything. You know what I mean? If I know these cameras is there. So I was like, man, you know, what if we can get something going to where we can pass out Ring cameras to everybody in the community? Maybe that'll stop people from coming in and doing those type of things. So to date, I believe we passed out like 125 of them in the Washington Heights community specifically. And so we got a grant about a year ago to be able to get 100 of them, thanks to the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. Then we got a second grant this past year to be able to get 100 more. And so we passed out the first 100, and we are slowly rolling out the second 100, 25 so far, and throughout the next couple months and throughout the summer, we'll roll out the next 75 of them. So that'll be 200 Ring cameras that we have been able to give out in the community for free. You know, we're keeping track, you know what I mean, to see, you know, if different crimes go down, you know, how things play out, you know, knowing that these Ring cameras are in the community. So that's one program that we're doing. I have a program that where we go into the Battle Creek Public Schools and work with kids, tier 2 and tier 3 service kids, kids that, you know, need, you know, extra help, mentorship, you know, some kids that's having behavior problems. And we do social and emotional learning activities with the kids. Right now, we just developed to where we are in a middle school here in Battle Creek. We are an elective class. And so my program is actually an elective. And we're there 5 days a week. And those kids come to us every day. It's like a regular class. And we do different activities with them in regards to, again, social and emotional learning, cognitive behavior therapy, mentorship. We help kids make up missing assignments. You know, we seeing kids that in their whole school career have had E's that we're seeing now with A's and B's. And so that's something that we do. And that's more of a preventative program. We want to try to be preventative and proactive than being reactive.
First of all, there is hope and there is healing as we come together. I think of our community as a puzzle. And a puzzle, there are different pieces, different parts. Some of the shapes look really similar. Some of them you automatically know, okay, these go around the edge. If you do like me, I always start with the edge pieces. But then as you work into the middle, it gets a little tougher. So the closer we come together, the tougher it might be for us to fit. But when you get that right fit, you just have to keep working at it. But when you get it all together, it's a beautiful picture. And so the closer we get together, the more we come together. I believe that there's so much support and hope and healing because we're actually meant to help each other. No man is an island. And when you try to do things by yourself, because really depression, one of the trigger words, and people go through it. However, depression, it exudes in isolation. And because it tells you to pull back. Nobody knows, nobody feels me, nobody understands me. But it's quite the opposite. We actually can help each other, but we have to create those safe spaces for us to come together and know that I'm going to be received for who I am. I'm going to be listened to and heard for who I am. And now I can actually receive that next piece to my puzzle that's going to help me be a whole, help me with my healing, and help me with my hope.
I'm going to be honest, I have a fear for the future, but also a hope, because what I do see is that these kids want to change. They want to do different. It's the adults in their life. It's the adults in their life. And I can't say this no louder. We got to get it together as adults. Because our kids are suffering behind it. You know, and if we don't, we're going to be that older generation that is watching, a destructive generation come from up under us, and it's something that we actually can do about it. And so for me, and for the Rise organization, like this is my life mission. Like I truly know that I've found my purpose in life. You know what I mean? And that is to be able to take what I've been through in my life and having done work and continue to do work in regards to healing myself, but to give that to someone else that is going through the same thing that I was going through. And I feel like if we all just do that, maybe even with one person, we'll make a big difference. And so, again, I mean, I know so I know that we can do it. We just got to come together, and I think even things like this, we're doing it, so.